Hey guys, welcome back to the Bonfire Podcast. Super stoked for our guest tonight. We have Miss Madeline Merlo here. Madeline is a country artist here in Nashville. She has written some of the coolest songs you've probably heard on the radio. We're super stoked to talk with her tonight, so can't wait to see you guys inside. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I checked out your music. Love it.
Thank you.
Seriously, like I was listening to Makeup. Is that your latest one?
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the Instagram post about like the story behind it.
Yeah.
That was pretty sick.
Thanks.
So tell me a little bit about kind of like the inspiration going into that writing, what that looked like.
Yeah. Makeup is a song that it sounds very corny, but it like needed to be written, if that makes sense. I felt it very on my heart to tell the story. And this message was something that I just needed to talk about, I think. And it started after a therapy session. And I was getting married in a couple months at the time. And I was talking to my therapist and I was like, I think I'm really scared that I'm going to be bad at it. Like, I don't know what that looks like. I grew up with parents that did not love each other, got divorced. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm predestined to fail. And she said, just because, you know, you're going to be handed a lot of things in your life from experiences or passed down things, but it doesn't mean you have to take them. And I was just like chewing on that thought. And I was on the treadmill walking. And I remember it started like pouring out of me. And it's honestly not a very hopeful song. It doesn't end with like, all you have to do is this, or like, you can change. It's, can you change? And it was written from the place of just like a lot of doubts and fears and confusion. And since writing it and since then, I think I have the perspective and the knowledge to know that you can, and you're not, you know, everything passed down to you. It doesn't mean it's predetermined. Yeah. But it was just a really raw and honest moment that I needed to hear. And there was no song like that. So I wrote it.
Oh my gosh, that was freaking amazing. You trained her well. You trained her well. That was awesome. No, I really do love the story behind it. And I think that there's a lot of, also really off topic here too, you look so much like Mackenzie Porter.
Really?
Yes. Do you get that a lot?
Well, we actually did this thing recently, this CMT Fireside thing, and people were like, are you guys sisters?
I was gonna
And she's from Canada too, yeah.
So you guys are not related in any way?
We're not related, but she's a good friend. I think she's amazing.
She's cool. She was our first guest on the podcast.
Yeah.
Very first guest.
She's awesome.
Yeah, she's cool.
She just had a baby, so happy for her.
That's right. Yeah, I love the song Makeup. I was reading this faith-based podcast, and you know, we talk about kind of everything, but when I was listening to your song, it reminded me a lot of Psalm 139:14. And I wrote it down, actually. It says, I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. And I love that image that you like put in a lot of your songs, but especially Makeup.
Yeah.
Because that's the one that is latest release, just Spotified it. I saw so much of that in your lyrics. And I think that's so cool that you can like relate it to something bigger than yourself and like the gospel image. Because it's true, like we are all fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of the Lord.
Absolutely. I literally have that on a sticky note on my mirror.
Really?
That's really weird. Yeah.
Let's go.
Because I think it's so important. It's so hard. It's hard, I think, being a woman in the world, and a man too. I think it's hard not to compare yourself, and we're so hard on ourselves. We're so judgmental. And then you add being an artist on top of it. And the level of just like comparison and, you know, what am I doing? Am I doing enough? This isn't working. It's just so overwhelming sometimes. And it starts to affect who my worth gets like kind of tied up in that. And the truth is that I'm more than just an artist. I'm a child of God, and I was made perfectly in that image, and I need to remember that, and I need to remember it every day.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. I love that. I love that you mentioned you have this tie of faith with your music career.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about kind of your testimony and kind of like growing up. Like, what did that look like? What's the story of Madeline Merlo, and how did you get to Nashville and stuff like that?
Oh man.
I know you've told this probably 100 times.
No, I'm just like, where do I begin? You know, what's cool about my testimony, and I love sharing it so much, is that I didn't grow up religious really at all. I always say Jesus wasn't a childhood friend of mine. I knew who he was, and I knew, like, I went to church at Christmas and at Easter, and I went to a Christian summer camp one year that was so fun. They had like an epic water slide, and I was like, this is great. But I certainly had no idea there was this relationship or anything about that. And so I came to Christianity pretty late. And it was just the most incredible thing that's ever happened to me. And why I love sharing it, why I think it's so cool, is that there was just nobody in my life being like, you need to do this. Like, this is who you are. This is how you're raised. These are the principles. Like, there was none of that. It was so organic. Yeah. And it was truly, like, for lack of a better word, a paranormal experience that I had in a church where I felt the Holy Spirit wrap its arms around me and fill me with a sense of peace and hope that I did not have at the time. And it literally changed my life. Yeah.
I love that. So you come to Nashville, and what does that scene kind of look like for you? Like, was there like a couple years where you were like doing it? Were you doing the Live Oak thing at all or anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I signed a record deal in Canada when I was like 17. Okay. And that's where I'm from originally.
And you did acting there?
Yeah, I did some acting. I've lived 1,000 lives. I was in a My Little Pony movie. I did have very random jobs and things. It's pretty funny. But yeah, so I was an artist and toured extensively and really did the whole thing. Got to hear myself on the radio and win awards, and then just really felt called to come to Nashville. I wanted to write songs. I wanted to become a real songwriter. Yeah. And this is just the place to do it. So I moved to Nashville 6 years ago, and to tie it back to faith, I was driving in the car thinking about this. I think when you grow up in the South or around here, you don't realize that like faith is such a part of the culture here. And I remember being in a ride and a girl coming in being like, I was doing my devotional this morning. And that was the first time that I had heard someone really just casually speak about God in that way. And it took me off guard. And I was like, oh my gosh. And really looking around, so many people, it's a part of life here. Yeah. And that was so cool when I first moved to town. Yeah. But it was really hard. I mean, it was a whole new country. I didn't know anybody. I had no friends. I had no job. I was just like living on delusion and a dream. And I got to this town and was like, I need to get a publishing deal. And I harassed everyone who would like make eye contact with me about it. Really. Can you listen to my songs? Can I please meet with you? Like, I truly was crazy, but it ended up working out and I got a deal. And because I needed someone to sign my visa or I had to leave.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I'd never thought about that.
Yeah. Canadian problems.
Canadian
for
problems.
Real. It's very stressful.
Yeah, I get it. That's cool. Well, shoot, you've been grinding.
Yeah,
you've been grinding. I love that. So was there ever like mention of like, was country music always the thing?
Yes.
Did you ever want to do something else?
I grew up listening to all kinds of music and love all kinds of music, but it really started. So I grew up riding horses. And so country music is, what you're listening to in the barn. And it was a pretty rural town that I grew up in. So it was just a part of that culture as well, too. My mom loved, Keith Urban and Shania. Took me to my first concert with Shania Twain when I was 10. So I really grew up listening and loving country music. But I started singing demos for my first producer. His name was Dan Swinimer, shout out. And I was like 16. And he was a songwriter and he wrote all types of songs and I was singing demos for him, and it was very clear that whenever I got to sing a country song, that was my favorite thing to do. And I mean, gosh, we cut probably 200 demos and put a few on YouTube, and that's kind of how my whole thing started.
That's awesome. I love that. Outside of music, what have you been up to?
Gosh, this year I really want to live life and see some places. That was something I really wanted to do. So I love to hike. So and honestly, they're still kind of tied around work. But I'm playing a festival in Calgary. So I'm going to Banff this year. Hiking Banff with is so amazing, and playing Watershed. And so I'm going to go to Mount Rainier this year. So I just need to see some nature. I think it's a very, very healthy thing for me. So
what's the coolest place you've hiked so far?
Probably Costa Rica, I would say, just because it's just a landscape you've never seen before and so lush and jungly. But Yosemite is an American treasure. That place is so spectacular.
Dang, that's awesome. I sometimes I do Radnor Lake around here. Yeah. Sometimes I do Percy. But there's a really cool one that I found, Burgess State Park. Have you been there? No. That one has a waterfall and stuff. Wow. You gotta go there. I love a waterfall. You need the payoff at the end of the hike. You need the view or you need the waterfall. You got to. You got to. You recently just got, like a year ago, just got married? Yeah, almost a full year. What's that been like? It's been great. Yeah. It's been awesome. I think it's incredibly essential to marry somebody who you're really sure and they're your person. Like, I can't explain it.
I knew in my soul that he was the person that I was supposed to be with. And he's just the best guy ever. He's just everything to me and has just taught me and showed me and healed me and all of these things, and is just a true partner in every sense of the word. So I always say that we have a blast together. He's my best friend, but it's a lot of time together. Like I always say, if you're like unsure or you don't really know for sure, like it's a huge commitment. And we both obviously took it really, really seriously. But it's been a blast, honestly.
Yeah. Best thing about being married.
I just think it's that you're just never alone in any situation, good or bad. He's the first person that I want to call or talk to. And he just has a way of just calming any situation or anything down. He's so intelligent. I trust what he says. And so when I feel like my anxiety has really taken over, he's like a pillar of truth. I know I trust him. I know he's smart. I know he loves me as my best interest. And so when I turn to him and he's like, hey, it's actually okay. Everything is okay. I know that he's telling the truth. Because sometimes your brain is lying to you and it can get all over the map that way. So I'm really grateful for that.
Sure. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
For sure.
We, so how this show works is usually every week I'll kind of like do some research on the guests, and then I'll open the Bible and just kind of find like a verse that kind of speaks to the message that like we're trying to portray, or that at least you try to portray, like either in your music or like we have authors on that, like, you know, they're writing and stuff. This week was just kind of I wanted to change it up a little bit and just kind of ask you, like, is there kind of a verse that kind of comes in mind when it comes to, you know, not like a live by verse, but like, is there like somewhere in the Bible where it's like, I really like that is kind of like my thing that I put into everything that I do?
I wish I could recite it exactly, but I brought my Bible somewhere, so we could.
We could grab we're so unprepared tonight. Bibles are inside. We have like a Bonfire Bible.
Oh, yeah.
Branded and everything.
Bring it out.
Bring it out. Hey, thanks, man.
I love it.
Got it there.
Thank you so much.
Hit us with that wisdom.
Let's see. Matthew 7:24.
Dude.
Which says, everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat that house, but it did not fall because it had been founded on rock. And I love that verse. I think that in my life, I don't know like where I would be. I don't know if I would be here. I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't have had this little thread of Jesus at the end of the day when things got really hard and really dark. I know that it was essential to who I am, knowing that there was a promise of hope and peace and redemption at the end of hard challenges. And I think if you build your life on rock, it's like a cheat code. I always joke, I'm like, man, people living without that, like, that's so gritty. How are you guys doing that?
Yeah.
It's pretty nuts.
Yeah. It's, I think in this industry, especially in this town, you meet a lot of people who, you know, it's hard. I think it's hard to be that image for people at times, especially just with things that happen in this industry and stuff. So my question to you is, how do you stay true to that? How do you stay true to who you are with all the kind of chaos that happens in the music world?
I think it's just keeping your focus. We've got, in my house, we've got this big whiteboard and it just says look up on it. And I think in just every day and every situation, it's really being like, okay, what would Jesus do? Like, how can I handle this to the best of my ability? Leading with love that, you know, somebody up there is looking down on me and proud of this decision that I made. And you're faced with a lot of things like that. And you know, sometimes mess up and ask for forgiveness and whatever it is. I think it's a hard thing to do. Even when it's like jealousy and, you know, there's so many things like that I feel plagued with, I guess. But I think bringing the focus back to God on everything. And like I said before, just knowing that it's in Him that is the most important. It's the most fascinating. It's the most beautiful. It's the best part of me. And like, that's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Yeah. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
In Authority magazine, you said self-worth is not determined by the success of a career. I'm still learning that lesson.
Yes.
Talk to me about that. Just dropping wisdom.
I
just
love
everywhere.
that. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's like when people say, what do you want to like tell young people? That is what I want to tell young people. It's so hard when your name is the brand and your songs are the brand and it's you, and it's your name everywhere. And when it fails, you fail. When it wins, you win. And I think good and bad, it's dangerous. And I think that, having to learn that lesson. I mean, it's a roller coaster and there's ups and there's downs, just like any, path of life. But especially this is like, this song does well, and then 3 days later it's not doing as well, or it's just so unpredictable. There's no cheat code. There's no way to hack the algorithm. It's just, we're all shooting darts in the dark, truly, when it comes to this business. So if you have your heart so wrapped up in it and so tied up in it, it's like, I can't ride that all the time. Like, the lows are so low and the highs are so high. It's exhausting, and I just don't think it's healthy for me. I think it's just brought a lot of unrest into my life. And so, like I said, I'm still learning that lesson. And it's something that you just have to be intentional with it. Yeah.
I love that. When I was reading, it reminded me of Ephesians 2:10, for we are his workmanship created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Mm-hmm. In other words, it's saying God is the one who makes and God is the one who saves.
Yes.
And despite those hills and those valleys that you were talking about, he remains steadfast.
Yes.
And I love that.
Me too.
I love that. Tell me about a moment where you kind of looked back on Madeline Merlo's life. It's Merlo, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I thought I was saying it wrong.
I know, you're good.
And you kind of knew, hey, there's somebody watching over me. Was there like a moment where he was watching over me there?
What a great question. There's so many. My career, it was pretty crazy because I got baptized at, I think I was almost 19. And within that year, I had a song on the radio. And it was the wildest train of events after that, where, like I said, I put a song on YouTube, and this guy that I kind of knew, not really, sent my song to a radio station. And it was to the station inbox. And I get a call from the program director. And he's like, I never checked this station inbox. It's this random link. I don't know why. It felt like a God moment, and I should click it. And it's your video, and I want you to come into the station.
Let's go.
And I'm like, what? So I go in. He ends up being like this really powerful program director, and was like so excited, like, you're the best thing, whatever, and calling record labels in Canada to come meet me. And I signed a record deal. And within that year, I had a song on the radio. So like, I felt very anointed that this was, the path that I was supposed to be on. And even just that moment, and obviously the Lord does amazing things. And another moment I can think of, last year, my mom had a heart attack, and I had a show that night, and it was like 3 hours to the show, and she was okay and she was stable. But for a while, we just didn't know like what was going to happen. Yeah. And I was like on my knee. I'm going to get emotional. I was on my knees, just like, my mom is the most important person to me. She raised, me and my sister pretty much by herself. I don't know like what I would do. And just sitting in this bad hotel room in Portland by myself in the dark, sobbing, weeping, begging, please don't take her. And she ended up being okay. And I just felt him in that room that day. Yeah. And I know that's not like the conclusion. And if something had happened, it doesn't mean, God's bad or anything. And it wasn't even, like I said, the conclusion. It was the feeling that I felt in that room, that I just was like, I felt so utterly alone and terrified. And I was, supposed to work that night, and I couldn't get back to Canada. I didn't have my passport with me, so I couldn't cross the border. It was a nightmare. My husband got on a flight from Nashville, flew like 11 hours to Portland, gave me my passport, got on a flight, and flew back 10 days after we got married.
Just so many things happen.
Yeah, for sickness and in health,
That's right.
Yeah, but I just remember just feeling so low and just feeling the Lord's just hand on me, being like, it's okay.
It's so interesting that you said that. Brings a lot up in my own personal life. These guys know it, but I lost my mom 2 weeks ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty kind of crazy, cancer and stuff.
I'm so sorry.
I appreciate it. But yeah, it's like it's kind of the same roller coaster. It's like praying to God, like, please don't take her and stuff like that, and then he does, and it's like, shoot, well, I don't know how to feel now.
It's just not what's supposed to happen.
It's it's like just, it's crazy because my mom was my best friend in the world too, like super close and everything. But through it all, I say all that to say, I really had this peace that like God was still good.
Wow.
Like God is still good, and it wasn't because of any sort of circumstances or anything, but it was because of what was done on that cross.
Yeah.
And I think about just like what you had to go through too, and as a totally different situation, but like I really feel that too. It's like there's a beauty knowing that the gospel is not about that. God doesn't promise we're not gonna go through crap.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
But he does promise that he's gonna be there with us for every step. So that's crazy that you mentioned that.
That's so hard. I honestly, I can't imagine not being so angry with God after, if that had happened or what you're going through. And for you to say that, I mean, that takes incredible strength. And I'm sure that that's going to be a journey that you're on. I'm just so sorry. That's so horrible.
I appreciate it. It's not about me tonight, but I just wanted to at least mention that story because it's the Lord does this. He like puts stories like that together. But that's the truth. If you are listening tonight, just know that like Madeline will tell you this and I'll tell you this, like the Lord is good and he's there. And just like Madeline felt his presence in that moment, I feel him still working in my own life and in my family's lives. So
absolutely.
Anyways, that's besides the fact. More lighthearted question.
Okay.
You have you've done some stuff with Jelly Roll. What's the best story that comes to mind when you think of Jelly Roll?
Jelly is a very special person. He makes.
You call him Jelly?
I guess. I sometimes just want to call him Mr. Roll too. I'm like a little Mr. Roll. He's a very special person. I mean, it's not like I've spent a ton of time with him, but I've been in work kind of capacities with him, and he really just makes every single person in the room, in the vicinity, feel so seen and loved. And he's saying hello to all the security people at the venue and like anybody around, and he's like the people's person, and his story is so inspiring for me. And I really think, writing Makeup, it's a very vulnerable song, and it's artists like Jelly that give other people strength to be honest in their music. I mean, he's very honest about who he is and where he's been and his kind of ways that he's misstepped and I mean God's redemption and the whole thing. I think it's so amazing. And at the CMT Awards he got up on stage and said Jesus' name, and it's very, very cool. I'm really happy for all the success.
That's why people are connecting with him so much.
Yeah, he's just who he is. He's very authentic, and that's refreshing.
Yeah, I think that a lot of music nowadays, it's missing that. It's like that authentic just self.
Exactly.
Not in your music. Your music's great. But in like, the stuff that you're hearing today and stuff like that. But
yeah, we talk about that. It's a hard line to walk because it's incredible to write a song that makes people really feel something. Right. And it's incredible to fill a dance floor. And have everybody dancing. And there's a way to do both at the same time and be authentic, and trying to juggle both and make it even the fun ones mean something. And it's always this like really delicate balance. But I think as songwriters, we have the privilege and, opportunity to really share messages that need to be heard.
Yeah, I love that. Have you ever worked with Emily Wiseman? I
have, yeah.
We had her on not too long ago, and we asked her this question, and I feel like I need to ask everybody this question now that we have on, but I asked her, where are you at with God right now in this moment of life? And you can be totally honest. She was so honest with us.
Yeah. I bet she was, for sure. I listened to her episode. It was very, very emotional and very powerful. I think that it's hard. I mean, I think that we're good. There's so many ways that I fall and I'm not good enough for him. I mean, every day you kind of end the day and you're like, oh, I could have just been better, talked to you more, turned to you more. And I always feel like that. And it's always a wave, But I do think that I just feel the Lord and see the Lord all over my life. And it's the craziest thing. And I mentioned earlier, like I suffered with really, really bad anxiety and depression, and I still do. But there was a point in life where it was ruining my life. I was ground floor, level 0. I was having 5 panic attacks a week. I was completely paralyzed in fear, and my body was reacting to some stuff that had happened when I was a kid, and I didn't know what was going on, and I was just hopeless. And the Lord was there, and he never moved. He was the only thing I had to hold on to, and he still has not moved from that place in my life. And so no matter what, when I feel like we're really close, or I'm straying away, or I get busy, it's just like I know that he's there and his arms are open and waiting for me. And I'm just so grateful for the way that he's been in my life and how he has transformed it and brought me so much peace. So I feel comfortable saying that. Knowing that it's like any relationship that like ebbs and flows, and I know that I can always be better, but I also know that he's always there for me.
It's interesting because like the whole like depression, anxiety thing is a really it's a big topic with a lot of people that listen to this podcast. And I'm always curious, like practically, like what did that look like of getting out of that for you? Like was there like practical steps that you took to get out of that?
Yeah, I mean, it was horrible. And you know, it's interesting. I feel like anxiety is kind of this trendy topic now. And you know, like I said, I had a panic disorder. So I was having these panic attacks and had one on a boat with friends because I couldn't see the shore. And it's completely irrational. Like I know I'm a coherent, like obviously we're going to go to the shore. Like the boat's not breaking down, like everything's fine, but your body like doesn't know that. And that's not trendy. That's not cute. That's embarrassing. And it was horrifying for me. So I think that it's a very dark thing. It's a very real thing. And it's still something that I struggle with, but to look at like where I was to now is the craziest arc. I mean, and it took a long time. It took a lot of therapy. Was on medication at one point, a lot of prayer, a lot of turning there, and time, I would say. Just kind of opening the can of worms, I guess. I mean, there's so many things I think in life that you just like don't want to think about and don't want to deal with, and this happened, but we're going to keep it over here. It's still there and it weighs you down. And so I think with therapy and all of that, you're just opening it, and it's really, really hard at first, but it also, there's so much freedom, there's so much weight off your chest with it. And I highly suggest everybody go.
I love that. Thanks so much for being vulnerable with that too.
Of course.
It's like, I know it's a hot topic to talk about, but appreciate you sharing that. You're so cool.
Thank you. So are you.
No, thank you so much. I wanted to backtrack just a second because, you know, you mentioned like where you're at with God and like kind of this like thing of like feeling like I'm not good enough and stuff like that, and kind of going through that roller coaster. And it's like I feel like a lot of people go through that, like this idea of not feeling good enough. And I think there's some truth that the Bible shares that like we really are not so good people. Like look at Adam and Eve. I mean, like I'll be the first to admit too, I'm a stupid idiot, like dumb, like I'm broken man, dude.
Absolutely.
But there is beauty knowing that Jesus came to make us perfect. So that I say this a lot, but like Jesus was that bridge where now when God looks at us, he sees his perfect son and he sees perfection. So it's this kind of battle of trying to be good enough, but also like knowing that you already are good enough. It's so easier said than done. And I think that's where like the mental like stuff comes in too.
For sure. And I think it just gets in the way. I think there's so many people that are like, oh, I'm going to burst into flames if I walk in the church, or I've been a bad Christian, I can't go to church. Or it's like whenever you feel like you're neglecting something, to like turn around and look it square in the face, there's a level of shame that we feel. It's just human nature. And so to really understand that the Lord is like arms open waiting for us. He's not angry at us, and he just wants us to come back. He just wants to reconnect. That's like a hard thing for us to even conceptualize. And so I think that like gets in the way. Like, oh, like I haven't been to church in a month or 2 months or 3 months. Like I can't go now. Like, I don't know. I think that can just stand in the way for some people. So to really realize that there's a song that is so incredible. And in it, it's love me or hate me, I'm not going anywhere. Leave me or take me, you still bear my signature. And I just feel like even people that are like, I don't believe, I don't care, I think it's a cult, I think it's stupid, I hate God, you know, he's like, I love you, but I love you so much. Like, you bear my signature. Like, even if you don't know me a day in your life, like, I love you and I'm here. And that's a really weird, hard thing for us to really get. But I think that's so beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. Last verse I had tonight was James 1:17, and kind of ties into everything that we were talking about tonight, but it says, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. And the truth of it all, if you're listening tonight, Christ was that gift for us. Christ was that gift for us. And I see it so much in your music, just how you relate it to faith, and also just like when people look at Madeline, they see that there's a bigger connection to that. Like for Ryan, we don't know you like that. Like, we're not like besties and stuff like that. But
now we are, but
we can see so much of that in like your music.
Thank you so much.
That's really why we wanted to have you on tonight, because you're inspiring a lot of people just through the lyrics that you're writing and who you are as a person. So we're stoked for you.
Thank you so much. That's such a huge compliment, at the end of the day, that if you see that in somebody, I mean, you just see like love and light and kindness. That's really what you're seeing. So thank you so much for saying
welcome.
that. Anything
else that you want to say to the people of the Bonfire?
I don't know.
We have this one question that we like to finish with is, if there was one piece of advice you could give little Madeline, what would it be?
Oh, I think about her so much. It gets me too. She's so strong. She went through a lot. I would just love to be like, one day you're going to live in the city of your dreams and you're going to write songs for a living and you're going to find this man who is like the nicest person to you and things are going to make sense. And I know that it's like, doesn't make any sense right now and things feel really unfair, but it's going to get so good. I promise. Like, I really wish I could tell her that, because I don't think she knew.
That's awesome. We're rooting for you.
Thank you.
You got any new music coming out soon?
Yes. I'm writing my EP. Yes. We don't have a set date for it yet because I'm still kind of in it, but I'm so excited about what we've got. And I just feel like, just like anything, songwriting is such a muscle, and the more that you do it, like the better that you are. And I always feel like my next stuff is the best writing I've ever done. But I really feel like that. I feel like I've just come into my stride and being so intentional with like, I need to say this and I want this on the project and this message is important. And so I really think it's going to be something very special. So I'm excited about it.
Can't say too much about it right now.
We don't have a date yet. We've got like, I think I'm just still maybe looking for like 1 or 2 songs to really complete it. Cool. But the majority of it's done. Yeah.
Is there like a central message theme or just a bunch of different messages?
I think it's kind of a bunch. I mean, really writing Makeup was just so empowering to me as a songwriter to just really like dig a little deeper and be a little more honest. And even though that song, I like have to take a very deep breath before I play it to like some random crowd in Kentucky, I'm just like, you don't know me at all. And I'm about to just get into some family trauma real quick. But it's just, like I said, inspired me to just be more honest. And really, I want people to listen to it and go like, I feel like I know her after that. And so that's kind of my MO whenever I go into the writing room now. Like, how can I put like my story, my real story, not this hypothetical story about something in these songs. And yeah, I'm excited about it. Love
that. Madeline Merlo is your Instagram?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Like Madeline and then Merlo, like the wine with no T.
Cool. Well, we're stoked for you. We're cheering you on. And thanks so much for being here.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Hey, thanks for watching that video. If you liked that one, you will probably like this one right here. Feel free to check it out and make sure you're subscribed to our channel for the next video. See you guys.